What was like the worst thing that you experienced? You know, that Joe asked if you were in love with him. You ever seen Joe Budden since that situation? Did you see the Joe Budden consequence fight? You know, I consider putting hands on Joe Budden.
Well, was Joe's main thing Molly, or was there other stuff as well?
Joe Budden essentially said he's a much better rapper than me. Like, what exactly did Joe do at that point? Do you have a relationship with Joe Budden?
Joe Budden.
Joe Budden.
Joe Budden. Joe Budden. Joe Budden.
Joe Budden. Joe Budden. We got physical at certain points.
We had our moments.
I mean, were the police ever called?
Police ever called?
So Vlad
don't like
he stirred up the whole ransom Joe Budden shit. If it wasn't for Vlad
don't like Capone.
I apologize for things I did. If he wants to talk about it, cool. If not, whatever. And the response I got was, keep that same energy when you see me. Joe's still mad at me.
A lot of people seem to forget just how much fucked up shit DJ Vlad did to Joe Budden. It's a topic that hasn't been covered a lot here on YouTube, and it's definitely worth putting a microscope on. By the way, if you like that edit on the intro, hit the like button for me because it really helps my video. Believe it or not, these two weren't always on bad terms. Back in 2008, Vlad conducted an interview with Joe, and Joe ends off the segment with a quick freestyle.
Bop up each step dressed in my fly shit, my iPod, headphones on, I'm bumping my shit.
However, that is the only footage that you'll find on the internet where these two appear to be in good favor. You see, Vladimir had a dream. He saw the success of blog sites like WorldStar, and he was willing to do anything to get a piece of the pie. But when things started out slow, he quickly realized that if the stories didn't come to him, well, he had to jumpstart them himself. And what better way of doing this than by taking what should have been a rap beef and instigating it so it went right into the streets. And that is exactly what DJ Vlad did when he saw that Joe Budden said this.
Ransom is a Toyota, and I am like a f***ing Marcia Lago.
You see, normally this would just be a scenario where both MCs would exchange some bars and the fans would debate who got one up on the other. Unfortunately, it was at this point where slimy DJ Vlad reaches out to Ransom himself to film a response video.
Get out the game. This is the last time I talk about you. If you bring my name up, I'm not going to blog you no more. I'm just going to go where the fuck you at.
It was in that video where Ransom claimed that it was on site with Joe, and he also made some very disrespectful comments about Joe's girl, Tahiry. And just like that, 2 days later, Joe and his boys show up to Ransom's block, and they put hands on him.
Ransom so happens to be outside, just standing. Look to his left, nigga, seen Joe Budden. Last nigga, he thought he was... Dump him out, real quick.
Now at this point, Ransom is fired up. All this shit is on the internet, he's got a reputation to uphold, so he takes to the streets to try and hunt down Joe Budden. And the next part of the story is the part that most of you guys probably remember. It's the part where Ransom's friend slaps Joe's friend right in the face.
Really? No. Just go get that nigga. Just go.
At this point, Joe Budden looks at the situation and sees it at face value. He knows if the cycle continues, things are only going to get more violent, so he maturely diffuses the situation by taking the high road.
What happens next? See, niggas like to live for now. I like to always look further. What is to happen now? I go retaliate, I respond, I show the world, I leak the footage from the other night. You then respond to the response. This is an ongoing thing. At the end of the day, all this does is benefit him. It gets niggas like WorldStar to put him on there. It gets niggas like Vlad to come want to interview him and instigate. And to them, they doing what they're supposed to do. They taking advantage of a nigga's ignorance so they can bring traffic to their site. But then what happened when somebody died? Because that's all that's going to happen as an end result.
However, just a few weeks later, Joe Budden would absolutely destroy DJ Vlad with cold, hard facts on live radio.
And I really consider myself a very serious journalist in terms of what I do. And I felt that whole situation centered around me being a journalist and putting certain information out in the world. And I'm not going back down from being a journalist.
You think that whole Joe Budden and Ransom shit was you practicing journalism?
Yeah, I think it is.
What's your opinion, Joe Budden?
That's not journalism, Vlad. That's not journalism. That's more like Us Weekly gossip bullshit. It's not journalism. It's more like an insult to even call it that. That's not journalism. You're much brighter than the people that are on Vlad TV. Much brighter. You're much brighter than Ransom and all the idiots that were on that video. You're much brighter than a lot of people I see on there. So you already know what you are doing when you put a camera in front of these people. You know what's happening. You know what the response will be. You know what you are initiating. You know the part that not DJ Vlad, but Vlad TV is playing. Vlad TV is now the only outlet that will showcase the bullshit, because no one else will. Or, let me take that back. World Star will, and a few other places that capitalize off black niggas being ignorant will showcase it.
At this point, Vlad basically wages war on Joe Budden. He essentially makes it his life mission to expose any and everything about Joe. In fact, while I was researching this video, it made me realize that Vlad probably has more videos about Joe Budden than anybody else. Basically, if it had anything to do with smearing Joe's character, Vlad was on it. There was the Saigon beef.
I ain't really got much to say about that dude, because on some real G shit, like, he's sending niggas to jail.
The time that Joe dissed Boston rappers while he was in Boston.
And before the show goes any further, I only came out early because niggas was making me look bad.
But he came on the stage and said what he said, and people felt really disrespectful.
He even started to ask questions about why Joe Budden's father got locked up.
You was locked up with Joe Budden's pops?
Yeah, his pops was like probably on the 7th, 8th floor, somewhere around that or something.
You know what he was locked up for?
I don't know, but I know I was locked up with his pops.
Really? Y'all had conversations?
Why are you even asking these kinds of questions? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, it's fucking weird, bro. Anyways, at this point in the story, Joe gets sucker punched by one of Raekwon's goons. And of course, Vlad takes it upon himself to not only ask everyone's opinions on it, but he posts an interview with the dude that actually punched Joe.
You committed a foul and you got flagged. That's what happened. You know what I mean? So, you do it again, you're gonna get flagged again.
When you sit back and think about this, like, these guys are absolute nobodies. Vlad is far more concerned with embarrassing Joe than with the quality or the substance of his content. However, he only gets more petty as he dives deep into Joe Budden's personal relationships. At this point, Joe and his girlfriend Tahiry are fresh out of a breakup, and Vlad decides that it's only right to bring her on his platform to try and fish for more dirt about Joe. Keep in mind that we're still in 2009 right now. This is long before Joe's Love and Hip Hop days.
Have you heard the thing about that Joe did about you? How do you feel about that? Do you feel a little bit betrayed?
Look, buddy, I don't care if you're a journalist, all right? When I see you, there's gonna be a problem. At least that's how I think Joe was probably feeling at the time, but either way, Vlad wasn't done because he brought her back again just a few months later.
You and Joe talking anymore?
I don't speak to him.
Did you guys talk after that?
No.
Any comments about the Esther Baxter thing?
Oh, no.
Do you think him putting his relationship on the net again is a good thing or a bad thing? There was the whole Gloria Velez thing.
Right.
Did you see that whole thing?
No.
And now we segue into the Love and Hip Hop era where Vlad suddenly gains a whole new interest in the show. He brings Tahiry on to discuss Joe's addiction issues.
I mean, in regards to the addiction or the mental state or stuff like that.
He brings Raqi Thunda on to discuss Joe's addiction issues.
Yeah, he was high.
He brings Kaylin Garcia on to discuss Joe's addiction issues.
Well, was Joe's main thing Molly, or is there other stuff as well?
And he really just tries to dig up any dirt imaginable about Joe Budden.
He actually grabs you by the neck.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ever think of filing assault charges? So he was on Molly at the time?
Yeah.
You were actually seeing him doing it? Is that his drug of choice? Has it been somewhat of a violent relationship? Did stuff get broken? And, what's the most drama-filled thing?
We had our moments.
So I mean, based on the answer,
we had our moments.
It got physical at certain points.
We had our moments.
I mean, were the police ever called? The police were never called.
We had our moments.
But stuff got broken. Have you had situations where you were, where it got physical with women around Joe? You got to see her go through all the various, turns and twists with Joe Budden.
You guys do see what he's doing here though, right? He's pressing these women, asking them the same question multiple different ways and expecting a different answer. He's trying to pry information out of them. I mean, this is one of the main reasons why people call Vlad a cop. However, Love and Hip Hop wasn't the only new interest for Vlad. Out of the blue, he suddenly became enamored with the battle rap scene. It was also conveniently the only time where Joe Budden battled. And in this case, the overwhelming majority would say that Hulda Don won the battle against Joe, but Vlad absolutely relishes in the thought that Joe took another L, so he feels the need to ask pretty much everyone about it. However, now we're at the part in the story where Vlad suddenly stops talking about Joe. No more videos, no more coverage, nothing.
I told my staff not to cover him anymore. Not as a animosity thing, but as a, okay, if we cover him, he's gonna take it as we're bashing him. So let's just not cover him at all, so he has no reason to think that we're bashing him.
Now, hold up here, Vlad. So you mean to tell me if Joe Budden was the same old Joe Budden the rapper, that you wouldn't be creating content about him right now? Are you sure that the only reason why you stopped was because he's sensitive? Or is it the fact that he now has a powerhouse of a podcast that is well respected amongst the culture, and you know damn well if you went up against him today, you would lose? Something to ponder.